than business when you are someone who's neurodivergent. Business is different for you. Like a lot of the knowledge and coaching is for neurotypical people. And so you kind of like stretching beyond your capacity, your energy levels, your way of understanding, because it's geared towards that. And it's a very masculine neurotypical aspect as well, wherein a lot of people who are neurodivergent have more of a creative or a more of an it has to relate. We have to feel it. We have to understand it, connect to it kind of mindset. And I've noticed a lot of times people who are neurodivergent, I just say we're energy sensitive. We have a unique wiring to be able to read and see what's not easily accessible to a neurotypical mind, right? And so it's just when we don't understand that, or what we need when we're feeling overly stimulated in business and things of that nature, is like we need someone who understands that aspect and take that in consideration when we're building something, especially when we're building something that's connected to who we are.
Welcome to the Daily Soul Bytes Show. I am your host, Bolaabimbola, frequency alchemist, life coach, and energy practitioner. Daily Soul Bytes is where we have guest authors, coaches, and entrepreneurs from the fields of spirituality, psychology, and leadership, sharing their insights for the expansion of collective consciousness. And today I have a very special guest all the way from the Bay Area in the States. Her name is London Wolfe. Welcome to the show, London.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. All glitch, but I believe that I didn't miss much.
No, you didn't. The technology has its way of playing with us. I'll read your bio. I'll read your bio, London, before we start. London Wolfe is a business alignment strategist who founded London Wolfe Healing LLC and the Wolfe Tribe Apparel. She really works with business coaches as well as entrepreneurs and corporate organizations to understand the blind spots so that they can really come to know how they have been designed to lead. And this is really powerful. This is a wonderful work that London is doing. And I'd love you to tell us a bit more about what your work is. But first of all, how did you get to this place where you are working with those who are very much spiritually aligned, but also are balancing the business and their goals? Because it's one thing for us to want to expand our business goals, and there is in this very masculine way that we've all been conditioned to do. And we have to come to embrace that feminine and find that balance. And I'd love you to tell us a bit more about how you support your clients to do that.
Great. So in order for me to answer that, I have to give a little backstory of like how I got here, because I did a recent podcast where we're talking about like pieces of a puzzle, right? And so I'm someone who has very strong pattern recognition, and I've always saw life as like connecting the dots. So like a map, right? So we all have a journey, and at some point it all makes sense to why we are in the position we are in. Mm-hmm. So growing up, I had a natural knack for teaching. I was teaching stuffed animals. Like I was always drawn to just sharing. But beyond that, I also had a strong interest in spirituality, but it started in religion, as most of us do, right? But I would do little things like I was drawn to taking playing cards, and my mind or my soul would guide me to do like readings and things of that nature. And then when I got around 12, I had this this creative like spark, and I was designing business plans and rewriting the Bible and rewriting like the dictionary. Like I just was in a space, but unaware that I can create reality, right? And that there's room and expansion for everyone, that you don't have to be confined to one specific path. You just have to find what works for you. So I remember my mom said to me, she was like, you have the ability to take something that you think about or that you're good at and turn it into something tangible. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, wow, I needed to hear that. And so I realized like part of my path is taking natural talents and showing you that you can have purpose. And part of that purpose, especially being a life path 8, is about abundance. So taking those natural things, your spirituality, however you're designed and wired, and figuring out how you can utilize those things to make this experience more personalized to you and also create income or just whatever creative expression or whatever you want it to be that aligns with you. And
Mm.
so I started out in education. I did that for like 14 years. And then I got this calling after a very trying time, a dark night of the soul, as we shall say. And I started my spiritual business. And so around that time of having explosions of gifts, nothing's making sense to me. Now, during my time in education, I wasn't sure I was neurodivergent. I wasn't. I just knew that I had an ability to be a creative, out of the box thinker, and how to relate to people and meet them where they are so that I can help them become who they're designed to be. And so I would work with resource rooms and children with IEPs, and they would relate to me, and I would adapt curriculum and things of that nature to help them. But I knew personally, I always felt very sensitive to energies. I had a learning code. I was brilliant child, brilliant adult. Like I would excel in school, but there were certain things like simpler tasks that I would kind of struggle with. And so I kind of like felt like my cognitive sense was a little off. But nobody ever diagnosed me with anything. When I got in my 20s, I questioned it again. I still didn't get any help on that because I'm succeeding and I can mask and, like no one knows all of the work that you do in the background. So I didn't really get diagnosed fully until this year. But I knew that I was something. And I got my diagnosis for ADHD, and that helped me. But that whole entire path and those different aspects was nothing but the universe showing me the tools that I already had inside and the growth curves that people like myself experience. And so I took the time because I'm very practical minded too. And again, like having that ability to teach people and reach them the way that they're designed to learn. I took all of that information from being an educator, the different learning styles, and I created little toolboxes and such that can help people understand their spiritual gifts. I realized within business, when you are someone who's neurodivergent, business is different for you. Like a lot of the knowledge and coaching is for neurotypical people. And so you kind of like stretching beyond your capacity, your energy levels, your way of understanding, because it's geared towards that. And it's a very masculine neurotypical aspect as well, wherein a lot of people who are neurodivergent have more of a creative or a more of an, it has to relate. We have to feel it. We have to understand it, connect to it kind of mindset. And I've noticed a lot of times people who are neurodivergent, I just say we're energy sensitive. We have a unique wiring to be able to read and see what's not easily accessible to a neurotypical mind, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's just when we don't understand that or what we need when we're feeling overly stimulated in business and things of that nature is like we need someone who understands that aspect and take that in consideration when we're building something, especially when we're building something that's connected to who we are and we're passionate about. So I just kind of took all of those learnings and understandings and just my business evolved from the spiritual aspect to the business coaching to the strategizing. And then it was like, okay, who am I helping? What am I offering? So I took the old parts, like the spiritual learning styles, we'll talk more about that later, the PTSI and those frameworks, and just made those into toolboxes, toolkits, and people can just do them on their own. But the coaching aspect, I go a little bit more in depth and help people figure out, hey, nothing's wrong with you. You're just talking to the wrong people or you have the wrong person helping you because they don't understand your wiring and you fully understand your wiring. And that's why I'm here to help, to give you that, what I say, clarity is a sweet spot of life. And once we feel it, it feels so good. And then we can manifest and just go full steam ahead.
I love that. Thank you so much, because this is it. We have all come to explore different themes in life. And, I am a mother of, a young man who is now nearly 30 and is neurodivergent. And I'd love to talk a bit more about that. What would you say makes a neurodivergent different in the way they come to lead, in the way they come to relate, and how can a neurodivergent really come to understand themselves to the extent that they know how they have been designed to live, to enjoy life, to lead. How would you support a neurodivergent to do that?
That's a very rich question, and I thank you for that. Firstly, it starts with accepting how you are, and not in a way of shame connected to it, because a lot of times if you say accept how I am, people associate that with something negative. And it's like, no, accepting how you are in a sense of this is just who I am. What do I need? And a lot of times throughout life, many neurodivergents, I can speak for myself personally, we mask a lot. So a good chunk of the beginning of our journey was spent making neurotypical people feel comfortable, accommodating neurotypical situations, right? Which cause further damage in terms of our self-esteem. We overextending ourselves, and we are not placed in our own lives, right? So when I say understanding how you design, it's like I walk my clients through a process of what do you need? Your high energy level creative points, your low energy level creative points. Like nothing is going to miss you because there's a higher purpose. That's where the spirituality comes into play. And on my end, helping me to see what you need to feel comfortable in this reality. Nothing's going to miss you, but it will miss you if you don't get this piece of information, which is to step back, assess your energy levels, assess your processing style, assess your communication style. So that way you have clarity. This is how I receive information. This is how I ask for clarity. Like I had a client who is, he's on the spectrum, more geared towards the autistic side, but they just didn't say he's autistic. They just said you're on the spectrum. But he had a lot of autistic traits. And so one of the biggest ones is taking things literally, right? Like very literal, very black and white, right? Mm-hmm. And that can be a great gift. But in an environment, at a work environment that does not support that, if somebody says something, he had a hard time processing if what they were saying was the way he was receiving it. So he had an issue with understanding what the term gaslight meant. So anytime somebody was saying something that was going against what he was saying, he would say that they're gaslighting him. So we had to develop exercises and questions for him that he can ask himself or ask the person to see if that was actually happening. Mm-hmm. And by doing those exercises, another thing that I'm kind of skilled in is NLP. I'm able to help a lot of neurodivergent people come up with like reframing tools so that they can see, including myself, what is actually going on in the situation in a way that they can process. And like I said, from doing that, it helped. So again, just going back to the overall of your question, getting clear on what makes up who you are and what you need, right? And taking out of that accommodation factor and realizing like, I get overly stimulated. I can't do this meeting at this time, like especially if you're a business owner, right? I can't do the meeting at this time because my energy is not right. If I can advocate, that's the biggest one, advocate for what I need, then I can feel more comfortable and I can take away the overstimulation and focus more on what's at hand. And I feel more grounded in who I am. And that's what I feel like, just getting that clarity first. And it doesn't have to be if you're spiritual or whatever. It's just knowing this is what it takes for me to show up in this capacity, and trying the best to be around those who can understand that, or having the ability to communicate to those who may not understand. So a lot of people who, I don't want to generalize, but if a person is neurotypical and they never encountered someone that's neurodivergent, and we have a lot of stereotypes, like usually when you associate people with ADHD, you think of the hyper focus, just all over. And that shows up a lot of times in young boys. There's a lot of women out here who were late diagnosed. A lot of us are not getting our diagnosis until we're in our 30s because it didn't show up in that typical, stereotypical way. So there's instances in my own journey where I have people who are like, you have ADHD? Like doubting it. And then part of me, because I spent so much time masking, and then I have like other things that I had to overcome in life, I would find myself like, do I? Questioning it because you didn't believe it first. And so you have to do some like reconstructing work in your mind to say, okay, all this time, this is new to them. It's not new to me. but now I'm in a space where I want to educate them on what I need, because all this time I was just like accommodating them. So if somebody says like, oh, you have it and they're surprised, I mean, sometimes it can feel offensive if you're just coming out of that masking phase, but you have to step back from that and say, okay, this is an opportunity for me to advocate. This is an opportunity for me to educate this person. And so that way we both can feel balanced in whatever style of connection we have.
Mm-hmm. And how does it manifest? You mentioned that ADHD is something that is different for, it's usually seen in a particularly different way for boys and different for girls. What's the difference? Can you explain to us?
So, yes, I can. So, like, the symptoms can be in both girls, boys. Like, you can have all the different types, right? But usually, what I've noticed, and from studies that I read, a lot of times in young girls, it's more of an internalized experience. So it can show up more in like self-doubt and self-esteem issues and depression and things of that nature, more so than it's usually more outwardly. For young boys, they're more hyperactive and short attention spans and things of that nature. So that's the difference. Whereas a lot of females don't get diagnosed until later in the game, because it didn't show up in the way that it's easier to process it in young boys. But again, there's young girls who have that hyper, focus and just energy and all of that, and it can show up because it's showing up in a typical way. But a lot of us, especially in the communities I've been in, we're like, hey, we were overlooked because ours is more of an internalized experience. But I can look back at my childhood, and my parents, they just was accepting of me. So it's like, oh, that's just how she's designed. Like, it's no big deal. But I did a lot of stimming. I would dance a lot, move a lot, the creative thinking, needing time to process, like all of those different things were part of it, but I didn't know. They didn't know, and then, a next factor to that is like growing up in different households that don't have access to like that extra care to go and find out further what's going on. A lot of times they can't get treatment to further see what's going on with that child. So there's a lot of different factors that can go into getting a late diagnosis as well, not just it doesn't look typical, but financial, poverty, all type of things that can hinder access to care, right? But now that I'm older and I'm looking back, I was like, wow, okay, it's making sense now. I get it. But I just see mine as, like I said, an ability to think outside the box. Like, that's something that I value, like finding your strengths, and within that, it being neurodivergent helps a lot. And then learning like your growth curves, and it's okay to like seek support from people. I had to learn what set me apart, but connecting that spiritual side to it, right? A lot of neurodivergent people, and I see it online all the time, also share that spiritual side, because to me, it's just the unique wiring is a spiritual gift. We're able to see, feel, and sense things on a deeper level, right? And that's why we're not designed all the time for a neurotypical world, right? Not saying neurotypical people don't have spiritual gifts, because they're everywhere, right? Yes, they do. But it's something a little bit more unique about it, because you already wired to see this human experience differently, and then you have that added layer. And I always say, when I see autistic children and they're like overly stimulated, I'm like, you're just energy sensitive. Like, we can remove those labels, like the medical labels to it, because that's a human perspective on this, and you and I know it's something higher to it. It's like, you're energy sensitive and you're gifted. So how can we cultivate that? Or how can we make sure you feel okay in this type of situation so that you don't feel overly stimulated, right?
Thank you so much. And this is really, I think we need you here in the UK, actually, London. I think your name is London. You should come to London. That would be really, really nice.
I'd love to come on my my list, I know it's in my destiny to get there. I just have to be comfortable with the timing. But it's like I'm just looking for the breakthrough, right? And immediately I will be zoomed out there.
I love that. I love that. And thank you for sharing. This is a very personal journey that you have gone through. And I love the way that you are now expanding it and sharing with everyone, because I think we all have a bit of neurodivergence in us. There is no one, it's a spectrum of some kind. And I think everybody will find they resonate with a lot of what you're saying, even if there is no diagnosis. So I understood what you said about that sense of advocacy and the sense of acceptance. And I'd love to talk a bit more about that spiritual side, because as a business entrepreneur who knows that they have some of those neurodivergent tendencies or even have a diagnosis, how can they begin to understand what the spiritual side is and how they can develop their style and really come to embody the empowered being that they truly are? I'd love to get your perspective on that.
Lovely. So that kind of like segues into like the tool that I created. And so, like I said, I was an educator for like 14 years, and I was strongly an advocate that we all are wired to learn differently. And even speaking with neurotypical people, it's like everyone has a blind spot. Everyone has an area where they are not seeing properly. And so whether you're neurodivergent or neurotypical, I got your back, right? And so I believed in making the spiritual experience practical, because sometimes, masculine and feminine energies, right? So the spiritual, intuitive, creative side falls on the feminine side, and then the action and the practicality can fall on the masculine side. And so sometimes people can have too much of the other, right? And that creates a blind spot. So if you're too feminine, you don't have a strong enough drive to bring it to reality. If you're too masculine, you can't get the messages and the understanding of the direction. You just want to drive. And then we create issues and detours and roadblocks. And who likes those if we can prevent them? So I created something called spiritual learning styles. And what I did was I adapted the learning style that you have in school with spiritual gifts, right? So for example, one of them would be a kinesthetic learning style. That's a spiritual learner who learns best in interpreting their intuitive guidance or connecting with the universe through hands-on things. So whether that's doing rituals or, just touching and creating, that's when you feel more connected to the universe. So that will be one of your strengths. Now, the beauty of these styles is they're interchangeable. They're not concrete. It can be at this particular point in time, you're more aligned with this style. It's 7 styles in total. And at another point, you're more aligned with another. But I do find, because I also do it myself, that there are still core styles that I go back to that are the strongest. So with this tool, it helps people to take that spiritual realm, which has no manual to it, because it's all inclusive. It's a unique experience to all of us, and to kind of funnel it down into our brain so that our brain can process it in a way that makes sense. And now you have both aspects of you on the same page. I know that my spiritual gifts are kinesthetic. I know when I need information or I want to connect with the universe or my intuitive insight, I have to go and light a candle or something because that feels good to me. Instead of going online and seeing all of these different styles, spiritual learning styles, and people doing using their own spiritual tools, and you're trying to imitate those styles, but you're not getting the right results, right? And now you're taking it as something's wrong with you. Your confidence kind of gets messed up. Your self-doubt kicks in. You're not able to make good decisions because you're like, why can't I do it if they're getting what they get out of it? Because that's not how you're designed to communicate with the universe. Neurotypical or neurodivergent, it helps you figure that out. And I made it really, really, really beautiful. And then it goes also into PTSI, which is post-traumatic stress intuition. That's something that came to me as well during 2020. I was busy during 2020. and that tool there basically helps you to decipher between a situation that has caused you PTSD versus intuitive downloads. Sometimes people can prematurely go into the collective and share their messages And those messages, because I'm very skilled, I can sense that that's not a truth, that's a fear. And you're not ready yet to handle such massive energies. So if you are a spiritual healer and you show up online, or you are the go-to person in your community that people come to, if you're going through your experience at that time, that's for you to process. That's not an invitation to share information with others. Knowing when you're meant to go into that realm and get those messages so that you can get the clearest message possible. Like, I help you to cultivate those skills. And it goes into like the neurodivergence too, because it has energy management involved in it. And that's something that's hugely advocated for by me when it comes to neurodivergence, because our energy, it operates differently. We might have moments where we're feeling highly creative or have a burst and we can just hyperfixate and go on something, or we don't like to be disturbed when we're doing something. And we need to be aware of those things. And that goes into your spirituality as well. Just overly flooding yourself and trying to learn and learn and learn and learn. No, let's go back to the drawing board and realize, what's your spiritual learning style? How do you like to process the spiritual information? How does the universe communicate it back to you? How do you manage your energy when it comes to sharing with others? And now you are spiritually built as a neurodivergent or neurotypical, and you have a better chance of making the right decisions in life versus experiencing confusion and detours. I hope that's clear.
Mm-hmm. So if you have a person who knows that they're neurodivergent and they're wanting to start a business, they have some idea of what they are good at, something that is their passion. How would you support them to start that process? Because I understand that, yes, there is a need to, first of all, be very comfortable with your own self. So, you mentioned those things about acceptance, about advocacy, and what are those things that they can come to do to flow more with their day to day? And then they can become much more available to understand those spiritual gifts as it's constantly flowing. It's just that we're disconnected from them. It's there. The messages are there. The connection is there. And what would you advise? 1, 2, 3 things that a person that knows that they are wired differently, they're not designed the way that mainstream is designed. What are the 1, 2, 3 things that you would advise for them, especially using your PTSI method, how to really come to become very successful in that business venture that they're really desiring to do?
Okay, if they're on their own, I'll give you 2 answers. One answer for if they're on their own, one answer for how I would support them if they were with me. So if they're on their own, I always tell people, like, to write down, what are you passionate about? Like, when it comes to this business idea, like, what are the aspects of the business idea that you're passionate about? Like, what does it consist of? So say you want to sell something on Etsy. Okay, what are the products that you want to sell on Etsy, right? How are you connected to those products? Like, what about those products make you excited? Because once you get that connection, then you have that kind of creative spark, right? And then I say we have to develop this toolbox that can keep you afloat for when you lose that excitement spark. Because a lot of times, not a lot of times, but me as a neurodivergent, like, I can kind of like, I'll go in, I'll hyperfixate, and then after that, I kind of flatline. And then I don't have interest in it, right? So what can we do when you kind of have that flatline moment to kind of reignite that spark? So having something to do outside of that to kind of get you back in the mode of it, right? Basically, overall, just figuring out your own schedule, what you want to create, what you want to offer to the world, and then what platforms support that, right? And so that kind of segues into the other tool that I created. We can get very overwhelmed being online, and online is a huge part of marketing our business, but I have created pathways where you can excel in your business without spending so much time online, because that can be very overwhelming, especially now with the heightened climate in the world. It can feel very triggering because we're we're feeling that energy, and it can kind of like dim your light and make you not want to do things. So with the social media energy roadmaps is a tool that helps you see how your energy aligns with the different popular platforms, what your creative hours are, how does this specific type of content make you feel energetically before and after. It gives you 4 different styles of personality strengths that shows you what type of content you're naturally drawn to creating that don't deplete your energy, and different types of content that you can create based on that style. So having this kind of roadmap takes away the pressure of, all day they tell you, push for the algorithm, create this, create that, create this, create that. And then you don't want to do anything, right? You don't want to show up at all. So this tool, if it's something like I can offer, helps neurodivergent people, especially during now, create the content that's needed once they realize what they want to offer to the world, how it makes them feel, and choose the platforms that can reflect back their energy and excitement for whatever they're offering.
Mm-hmm. And this is something that, thank you for that, London. Because I know that you also work with businesses and corporate organizations. How do you support them to really connect more with the teams, and whether they're neurodivergent or neurotypical? How does your work support corporate organizations?
Excellent. So I created a leadership style assessment tool, and that helps corporate leaders or team leaders, whatever company that's I'm connected with, to figure out the strengths and the blind spots within the leadership styles, and how they need to, how they are designed to communicate or receive information. And I find that to be a missing piece, because you can be very skilled and you're connecting with another staff member, but they don't hear you. They don't hear you. And I could tell you an exact situation what I observed. I was at this burger place, and there was an employee who was very, very upset, and she was crying in the back of the store. And so one of the other employees went to the person who was accused of causing that. And he was explaining to her how, the situation was impacting the person that was crying, but they couldn't see it. And they just kept going back to, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. But he wasn't accusing them of doing anything wrong. So I said, well, it's not the fact of the situation. It's the fact that they don't know how they're designed to communicate with each other. And that particular team leader doesn't have the skills to be able to recognize different communication styles. So now they're causing frustration within themselves because they don't feel that they're being a great leader and being able to get this team member to understand the perspective of the situation. But that's not it. You just was not properly equipped. Humans can't connect with humans if we don't understand humans. And that's the missing piece in anything that I do. It's all about your blind spots, plugging in that information, giving you the proper tools so that you can see, like a computer, how you're set up. And from there, now you can go out and you can talk to people. Now you can run a successful business, because it's not just about productivity. It's about being able to communicate so that everyone can be on the same page. People can feel supported, especially like, again, advocating for neurodivergent people in the workplace. Like, you think that this person is not understanding you and they're not doing their job and you want to fire them. No, you're not equipped to talk to them in a way. Like the guy I told you about earlier, he's having an issue with someone else at the company, and they're taking it as he's not doing this or he's not compliant. But no, he was not understanding what you was saying, and that was causing him to shut down and feel some type of way. So if we can get the tools that's necessary for communication, we can improve productivity in a workplace.
And what are the different kinds? Just to thank you for that. I love that. What would be some examples of the leadership styles for us? Because it sounds like it's there is an emphasis on each individual learning to understand how they are designed to communicate. There is a lot of introspection there, as well as the leader coming to understand how those in their reality. It sounds a little bit like emotional intelligence, and I'd love you to give us some examples of the leadership styles, because I know you created that really wonderful tool. So if you just give us a couple of styles that those who may be listening or watching may recognize or resonate with.
One of them is like an analytical leadership style, right? And so, like, the strengths of that is being able to deep dive and really get to the root of a situation. But the blind spot to that can be that you don't have the ability to think outside of the box in a situation that would require you to be able to think outside of the box, right? And so with that, when that comes and you don't understand that there's someone else on the team who can help you see that, you might be causing a glitch or some kind of setback in productivity. Or if you're mainly having a meeting, someone else can't understand what you're saying because of how you're processing it. Then you have like a creative visionary person who's more of an out of the box thinker, but their issue is that they can miss the detail. And so it's like 4 different styles that kind of like goes into it. But the goal of it is you can either get the assessment tool and do it yourself, but I also offer the workshop where you get the tool, we go through the different scenarios, we role play. I also take in consideration actual issues that's happening in your field, that you can kind of like say, oh, I didn't realize that was a problem. That's what happens a lot of times when people work with me. It's like, I never saw that. I didn't realize that. But that was the piece that was needed. And it's like, now you have improved communication. You won't take things personally. You have an ability to reach people where they are to get them to what you want them to do. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a very valuable tool. Mm-hmm. And again, having that NLP background also helps too, because the reframing techniques, the way that we do the hands-on part to it, it's emotional intelligence, but it's also falls under like productivity as well, because it's like, it's real time coaching. It's real time applying to situations that you're actually experiencing in your workplace.
What are the different ways in which you work? And for instance, can people just get the tools on your website, and or do they do the tools and send them to you? How are the different ways people can connect with you?
Okay, great question. So my Linktree actually like has everything on it. So within my Linktree, people can book a free consultation with me where I can assess you and see what I would recommend for you, because I don't believe in just offering things to people. I want to make sure that what I offer you is something that's beneficial for you. Mm-hmm. But the toolkits are digital products. You can just go ahead and buy them. I also knocked off $10 as a gift to the public because I love people. And so you can just download those toolkits. They're very, very deep and rich. It's not like a quickie type of thing. No, it's a very in-depth and rich toolkit, especially for the price offering. Mm-hmm. And you can do them yourself. You don't have to send them to me. That's just your self-guided course. Companies, they can contact me and also set up consultations so I can properly assess their situation. So basically, you got the digital toolkits. The Wolfe Tribe apparel is on the Linktree as well. You can see the different clothing that I offer. But yeah, toolkits and then the free consultations to see how I can support you. I have a 30-day program where we kind of just sit down one-on-one, but we also assess your blind spots, like get you everything you need to get started into the business. And everything is built around your purpose, values, and, you know, what is true to you. And then we have the 60-day one where we get more in depth and we do some strategic planning with your business plan itself and getting you in the right markets and whatever's necessary for you as well. But I'm going to be launching a workshop. I was trying to do it around the 888 portal because I was feeling to do the activation for the solar plexus. But I'm feeling like it might still pop in August, but it's between August and September right now. My spirit is feeling. But that workshop is going to be great. I'm just holding it for 12 participants. And it's going to be a weekly thing that we meet for about 2 hours. And each week has a theme. We're going to basically clear whatever's been in the way of you getting to the next level. And at the end of it, we're going to have a little culminating event, and everyone's going to get a certificate, and you're going to present to us your findings and your final project, and you get to network and have an accountability partner. So it doesn't feel like work. It feels like something that's supportive. But above all, at the end of it, you're going to walk away to community, and you're going to walk away with clarity and no longer being held back. Because how many of us, we're in these positions or we're pushing and we're not seeing results? And you know you're good, but what is that in the way that's stopping me? And so that's where I use my ability to see the blind spots, because I've done it for myself. And I can help you get past that point. So I'll be launching that soon. I'm very excited about that.
And is it a 2-day workshop? This August, September workshop, is it a 2-day or a 60-day? How many days would it be?
So it's 4 weeks, and we meet once a week. And it's about 2 hours that we meet, and we all strategize and come together. And like, I'm holding space and I'm supporting everyone throughout their process. I'm very present in it, but it's 4 weeks. Like I said, once a week we meet for 2 hours, and consider it as a moment of like self-love and self-care. It's for professionals, whether you have a business or you're working in a typical 9 to 5, it doesn't matter. We're just going to get to the root of what's stopping you. And I have specific exercises and themes. So it's not like I'm just coaching one specific style. I'm just giving you the tools, helping you with the tools, and you're applying it to your particular situation.
Brilliant, brilliant. I love that. Thank you so much, London. And where can people find you when they want to connect with you?
So as of now, people can find me on LinkedIn. If you search London Wolfe, you'll see me there. If you're on Instagram, preferably Threads, I'll be posting a lot more. It's purpose.driven.business.hub. So purpose-driven business hub, but with the dots in between. And I spend a lot of time on Instagram, but my spirit is calling me to spend a lot more time on Threads. So if you follow me there, you'll get a lot of support.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, London. Do you have any final words for us today about what you do, or any advice or any information that will help those who are listening to understand a bit more about your work?
Do you mind if I pull the Moonology card?
Go ahead.
Okay. I get the higher awareness, right? Because that's part of my gifts, using my natural talents. And so I take in consideration astrology, I take in consideration tarot, I take in consideration oracle cards. And that can be the background information for me to see a situation for you, right? As well as you. And so the Moonology deck a lot of times helps me and clients with navigating career changes. And so I just wanted to pull a card for the audience, because right now, the way the world is, there's a lot of shifts going on, and people can feel like, is it worth me pursuing my dream? Is it worth me moving forward? You know, financial shifts. We're in Cancer season, family trauma coming up. There's a lot going on, a lot of purification of the feminine energy. And so this is not a current season where your masculine energy should be the driving force, but it should be very present. So spending more time like being like water and flowing or near water is a good thing. And when you get those ideas, act on them, but take the spirit of flow. Don't force anything right now, because it will backfire. Have more patience with yourself with any test of commitment that's coming up, whether it's little or not. And what I've been hearing is, if something is going different, right, it could be a blessing in disguise. Like, don't just lose it, rather, at the smallest inconvenience or whatever. Detach from drama and let it happen. Nurture yourself. So the two messages that I have from the Moonology is, you are good enough. You are good enough. So whomever needed this message, if you've been doubting yourself, like, especially if you experienced a bit of disappointment back in back to back, just a test of commitment, is not anything to do with your worth. It's just to mold you, to make you stronger, to make you more self-aware, and to feel more self-confident. But you are good enough for whatever you're seeking, and then show the world the real you. So if you are a spiritually gifted person, and that's part of your gifts, the universe has always said to me, what the gifts that you hide is where your abundance lies. So if you are a spiritually gifted person, you're meant to show that. You're meant to be unique. You're meant to be authentic. So hiding the parts that make you you could be what's preventing your success from manifesting. But know that if you do show up authentically, you are good enough. That's my message. That's my closing message.
You are good enough. I love that because we truly are. We truly are. But we sometimes have this journey where we are conditioned in one way, shape, or another that we are not. So that's, that is a wonderful reminder. Thank you so much again, London. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. My heart is really full. I appreciate you for allowing me to be part of your space today.
Thank you. Thank you, London. And I do want to thank our audience for joining us today and to ask you to connect with London. She's a wonderful business alignment strategist, and she will really help that journey of understanding self even more and stepping out and expanding to be the best of self. So I thank you for being with us today. And I would want to invite you to connect with me if you want to work with me for quantum energy healing, really powerful in identifying the parts of us that we need to step away from and the versions of us that we now need to embrace to take the next levels. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Daily Soul Bytes Show. Bye-bye.